Alright guys, welcome to another episode of Get Wicked 4x4. We're here with Eddie from Dapco. He's going to tell us a little bit about tyres, suspension, GVM upgrades. So we'll get into it. First up, Eddie, I guess probably not a popular question, but what is your most popular selling off-road tyre?
Yeah, it's a good question. Look, as I was saying earlier on, everyone's got an opinion and everyone's right. I like the Nexen tyres. I think they're great value for money without the big price tag. Some of the tyres that you see advertised, some of those companies spend millions of dollars on marketing, and as a consequence, the tyre is a lot more expensive. I can sell a tyre through our Dapco stores around the $250 mark, and there's tyres that are no better and no worse, but they'll sell for around $500. So people have just got to do their homework. It's pretty simple, and we've all got an opinion. The Maxxis AT700 is a great all-terrain tyre, nice and quiet, great value for money. The only reason I haven't got the Nexen tyres on my own four-wheel drive is because they don't make them in this particular size.
Yep. All right. And also with suspension lifts and rim offsets, are you able to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the ladder cruisers, of course, they've got a problem. I believe it was brought about when they put the V8 in. They actually widened the front end up, but the back end was left the same width. So as a consequence, when the guys are doing, let's say it's a problem, but when they're going down the sandy four-wheel drive tracks or the beach, the back end, of course, is always continually trying to drop in, and it just won't track correctly. So just recently I saw where Mullins, we have sold a set of them now, have brought out a set of mags which have got a different offset from the front to the back to correct that problem. I am certainly aware, as most of our younger brigade are aware, you can buy spacers and put in the back wheels, but it is illegal, and yep, a lot of people are doing it, but it's all good until something goes wrong, and then perhaps the insurance company mightn't want to pay out on your $50,000 or $70,000 four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
That would be disastrous.
I guess also with the spacers that you're just saying about, I mean, yes, they're illegal, but they're certainly going to weaken the integrity of the back end of the car, aren't they?
Yeah, look, once again, it's a debatable one. Yeah, they got the studs where they fit them in. I personally haven't seen any of them let go or break off, but it's just by the Australian design rules. You've got to be so careful nowadays. And as a company, we can't fit them because if something did go wrong, we'd lose everything. And after 45 years of being in the game, working 7 days a week, no, I'm not prepared to risk it.
Yep. All right, mud terrain tyres. There's a bit of discrepancy there, all-terrain, mud terrain. What do you sell the most of?
We would sell more all-terrain tyres, absolutely, more all-terrain tyres, whether it's a Nexen or whether it's the Maxxis AT700s. We've also got a Maxxis AT980, and of course we're out here on the farm today, so I haven't got one here to show you. But the Maxxis AT980, it's very similar to one of the other big branded tyres, but the other branded tyres, you'll pay an extra $150 a tyre. So why would you?
Yep.
Why would you spend the extra money? People often say to me, Eddie, are they any good? And I said, look, if the tyres weren't any good, for the small profit margin that we make of them, if they weren't any good, I'm not going to sell them to you. It's pretty simple. It's pretty damn simple. If they're no good, I won't sell them to you. The cheaper tyres today, and dare I say it, even on the passenger side, some of the little cheap Chinese tyres, okay, they're 40, 50, 70 bucks worth. What do you call it? They still don't give any problems. They do not give any problems. It's not like back in the 70s when we were selling steel belted radials, when they first came onto the market. You'd sell 10 tyres, and I kid you not, 5 or 6 would come back. They'd be separating. You don't see that today. Technology's moved on. Mud terrain tyres, I never thought, this is my four-wheel drive. I've had some nice cars in my lifetime, whether it's been SS Commodore performance vehicles, whether it's been LTD family cars. But this old girl here, well, it's brand new underneath with all the pedal suspension, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But the mud terrain tyre, I never thought that I would be driving on a mud terrain tyre. And what happened, it was 18 months ago, Maxxis heard that I was going to go and do the Holland track, which is a really nice four-wheel drive track between Hyde and Coolgardie. Takes you about 2.5 days. Highly recommend it. Don't do it in the middle of winter, because seriously guys, there's trenches there this deep, that wide. You get stuck in there, the only person who will be laughing is the guy who does the four-wheel drive recovery out of Hyden, and it's probably going to cost you about $4,000. So be careful, and I certainly recommend do it with another mate. You know, I did the first section last year, just the very first section, just by myself with my wife Helen, and it was great, but it wasn't too wet, but you got to be careful. This year we went back to do the whole trip. Anyway, Maxis asked me if I would test out the new Razor mud terrain, which is the mud terrain 772, and my exact words were, "You're giving them to the wrong bloke to try them out." I said, I sell a lot of muddies, but I'm not a real fan of them. They're noisy. No, I don't want them. They said, "Ed, try them out and give us the feedback." Now that was 18 months ago when I did the first section, and I haven't taken them off. So I think that tells you something. Okay.
It
now,
does.
These tyres here, what do you call it, have done probably about 35,000 Ks, and I just did the Holland track in what was that, late August, right? It was still wet enough to be a challenge, but it wasn't that wet that we were going to get stuck too badly. So we had a couple of sections there where we winched out, but that was more for me being probably a bit more adventurous than I should have been, but it was great fun. But these tyres, they clear very, very well, and as a matter of fact, I've got a little bit of vision I'd like to give to you.
Yep.
Derek, you might want to use a bit of it.
Yep, that'll be great.
These are a 10-ply tyre. So we've had these on the sand at Yeagerup, and people say to me, "Oh, muddies are no good in the sand." Well, for any of you four-wheel drive guys, most of you would have been down to Yeagerup, and in the middle of summer, to get off the beach, this old girl isn't overpowered, that's for sure. But to get up off the beach, we let these down to 8 pound and got a good run up. Now people think, oh, you might roll them off the rim. These tyres, being a 10-ply, took close to 80 pound in a safety cage to pop them onto the rim. So I don't think they're going to blow off the rim too easy.
No.
So we were down to 8 pound at Yeagerup. Doing the Holland track, we were down to 15 to 18 pound in places. But here's the other good thing about these tyres. After we left Hyden and Coolgardie and finished that track, we then ventured up to Kookini and all the back way through to Meekatharra, Mount Augustus, and on to Cobra Station. Before coming down, there's a great four-wheel drive track, guys. You won't find it on the HEMA maps. As a matter of fact, I don't think you'll find it on any maps, but there's a great track there which goes over the top of the Kennedy Ranges. Now, that track is full of rocks, and it's just section after section. You continue looking at these rocks and you think, God, if I get out of here without destroying 4 tyres, I'll be lucky. Well, we were down to 20-25 pound on the trail and never got a puncture. We did close to, well, not close, we did just a smidgen over 5,000 Ks in 3 weeks. So there was the Holland track, there was gravel roads, a little bit of bitumen, right? But I've got a rule with bitumen. When you see it, you've got to cross it. You're not allowed to drive down it. Okay, that adds to the fun. Okay, and all I can say at this stage, these tyres, I'm not taking them off. I never thought I'd be sticking in here, you know, some 18 months later, saying how happy I am with them. So that's it. But if you were to come in next week, having said all that, and say, Eddie, you know, I like going down the beach now and again. I don't do too much mud work. I'm not into that, you know, because I've got a really nice 200 series cruiser. I'd say put an all-terrain tyre on. Put an all-terrain tyre on. If you like getting out in the mud, or perhaps you might have a farm vehicle on the hills of Brunswick, these tyres absolutely magnificent.
So when you spoke to Andy, he actually cut back on the number, and they were quite surprised. How much would people be looking to spend to get a set of these?
Oh, mate, look, off the top of my head, it depends what size, of course, but the Maxis tyres are not an El Cheapo. I mean, the way they're designed, they're just a beautiful tyre. But around that 350 mark thereabouts, you know, that's it. It's certainly 150 odd bucks cheaper than the big brands, that's for sure. Having said that, Maxis is a very well-known brand. You know, but the tyres are one thing, Derek. But the other thing, which is the biggest part of four-wheel driving, the tyres are very important, of course. You've got to have good suspension. You've got to have good suspension. There's no risk about it. Any of the old cruisers or the old patrols, that come into any of the Dapco service centres, the first thing we check on these vehicles is the lower leading arm bushes. They're often blocked out, and also the bush that goes back to the chassis. Now, what I prefer to set in the leading arms is an offset bush, and it actually gives you more caster angle, which actually drops it at the actual top back or hits the bottom forward, whichever way you want to say it. But what actually happens when you raise a vehicle, and every second four-wheel drive getting around Western Australia has been raised, yes. As a vehicle raises up, what actually happens is it loses that caster angle, which is, if you drew a line straight through the middle, what do you call it, loses that caster angle as you raise it. Then what happens, the patrols in particular, prone for it, they start to tramline down the road. We often get vehicles come in, they say, look, I've had a wheel line, but it's still not right. And I say, you had a vehicle race, did you fit the offset bushes? No. And I said, well, that's straight away is your problem. Okay? Now, we fit probably in excess of, 10 to 15 per month. That just tells you something. And a lot of guys, do a great job with their tyres and suspension work, but they don't like to fit those bushes because it's a little bit of a time-consuming job, and you've got to know what you're doing. So we fit a lot of offset bushes. I keep them in 2 degrees, and for the higher lift kits now, for the 4-inch lift, what do you got? We fit a 3-degree bush.
Yep. We'll just get a camera in. Can we get a camera in to have a look at this?
What I'm referring to, these caster correction bushes, this is the ones in here, okay? Now, you can replace those out, no problems at all. The whole job, you need to replace that bush, and also the one that goes into the chassis. What I prefer to do is I fit the rubber bushes in the bottom, because that enables that arm to still articulate, okay? Now, you notice on this old girl here, we've also got fitted the caster correction plates. That actually gives us another couple of degrees of caster. Now, this vehicle here has done over 400,000 kilometres, which is a fair few Ks, but everything underneath is brand new, whether it's the Petter's springs, the Petter's shock absorbers, the Petter's bushes, the whole lot is brand new. This vehicle, seriously, just drives magnificent. It's a pleasure to drive. I drive it most days myself, from Darden up into Bunbury, and also, as I was mentioning earlier, I've just come back from that 5,000 K 3-week sortie around the Midwest, and it's just a pleasure to drive. The other thing which I'd like to talk about is heavy-duty sway bars. A bit hard to see them in there, Nick, but the big bars, perhaps, mate, if you want to go around the other side and zoom back in from there.
Oh yeah, I've got them here.
You see the big red bar here, okay? Now, I know a lot of our younger guys will say, oh, I disconnect my sway bars. Well, you can disconnect them, but it does make the vehicle terribly unstable, okay? With a heavy-duty sway bar, it just takes all that body roll out of the vehicle. Because what happens, when you raise a vehicle, the centre of gravity, of course, is increased. Then what happens, and we'll go around to the back now, guys. I'll just show you that back one as well. Get a shot of that through there, Derek.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this big fella here, okay, that's at the rear sway bar, okay. Once again, Petter's springs. These are custom-made bars that I get done over east by a company who also makes them for the V8 supercars, so they know what they're talking about, okay. Also notice we've got the Nolafane bushes in the trailing arms. That just helps to take all that body roll and slop out of the suspension, okay. On the sway bars, what actually happens is typically a 4-wheel drive that's been raised, and no different to this. This vehicle here is raised close to 4 inches. So as soon as you raise the vehicle up, what you got, your centre of gravity, of course, increases. So you end up with the old pendulum effect. Okay. Now, whether it's a young guy who's after the 4-inch lift, or whether it's an old bugger like me, the old Grey Brigade, with the 200 series Land Cruiser, what do? They stick a boat lifter up on top, then they chuck the aluminium boat on top, then they throw a set of drawers in the back, an Angel fridge, 3 or 4 cartons of booze for the trip to Shark Bay, and 3 of their mates, guess what? The centre of gravity is like this. If you spend the money and put the heavy sway bars on to remove that body roll, it will be the best bang for your buck. There's no risk about it.
Right, so Ed, overweight vehicles, what's the problem there?
Well, you know, I think most people now, especially I keep referring to the old blokes my age, but yeah, I guess I'm part of the grey brigade now, guys, so don't worry about it. But a lot of people now, what's happening? What do you call it? They hit retirement, they turn around and go out and buy a caravan and say, right, let's hit this great outback, which is beautiful. What a way to go! But a couple of things to be very much aware of. GVM is gross vehicle mass of the vehicle. That is one problem. You then have what they call the GCM, which is your combined mass of both your vehicle and your caravan. Okay, so you've got to be very much aware of that. Then, of course, you have the mass of your caravan as well. So you've got 3 separate problems. Where I help is we'll take a typical. Well, this is an old Land Cruiser, but let's talk about a 200 series Land Cruiser. This is scary. You put a roof rack on your cruiser. You put an aluminium boat up on top. You turn around and put an 80 litre Angel fridge in the back, a couple of cartons of booze for the trip to Shark Bay, your deck chairs, a bit of other gear, maybe a set of drawers in the back with a little bit of recovery gear, 100 kilo driver, you're just about overweight. So you've got a choice. You're going to have to do something about it, or you'll be leaving the wife at home. I'm serious. You cannot take, most 4-wheel drives nowadays, you cannot load them to the maximum capacity. Where the manufacturers say, as an example, you can tow 3.5 tonne, I can tell you now, you can't tow 3.5 tonne because you will exceed the combined mass. If you've got weight in your tow vehicle and you've got your caravan near capacity, you will not be able to tow that 3.5 tonne van because you'll exceed the gross combined mass. If you've got any questions on it, please give me a phone call, pop in and say g'day. I'm in Blair Street. Tony and Chris are out at Eden. Zane's out at the Treendale store. They're all knowledgeable guys on this particular subject. Okay. The other thing is with a cruiser, I keep referring to the cruisers because that's a typical one, but the Nissan Patrols are all the same. Colorados, Mazda BT50s, it doesn't matter what vehicle it is, it doesn't take much to put you in a situation where you are illegal. Now, it's been well documented now that the Main Roads Department, the police, the Department of Transport are now getting more strict on this situation. The eastern states are very, very strict, and it's getting more so here. We've all heard stories and reports of the people getting pulled over in Carnarvon, Geraldton at the 440 Roadhouse, Dongra 2 weeks ago. A customer of ours was told to ring up a tow truck and to come and get his boat because it was too heavy for his tow vehicle.
Yeah, right.
That's what's happening, guys. It's for real. Also, in the paper there a few weeks ago, Main Roads now have bought a lot more mobile weigh stations. So I'd suggest between now and Christmas we're going to see more of it. When a vehicle is overweight, the actual braking distance required at 100 kilometres an hour is increased something like 30 odd metres. Pretty scary. That's the difference between hitting the road train or missing it. Okay, so be very much aware of it. You know, you don't have to fill your water tanks up when you leave Bunbury if you're going to Broome, for instance. Just put 80 litres in there. Just say if you have an overnight stop, yeah, you've got plenty of water on board. You don't need to take 200 odd litres. You don't need to take coal to collie, so to speak. You know, there's plenty of it when you get there. And it's the water, the diesel, you know. Do you need to fit long range diesel tanks? I don't know why you would do it. I don't know why. Spend a lot of money. There's nowhere in Australia that I'm aware of where there's not fuel outlets at least every 350 to 500 k's. Even when you go across the Great Central Road, you know, there's diesel all the way across. You don't need to be taking 1,200 litres of fuel with you. And some of the weights that people take, it's ridiculous. Just recently when I was at Mount Augustus, I saw a vehicle there. He had 6 jerry cans across the A-frame and a genset. Now the tow ball weight is the other thing is to be mindful of. If you've got a tow ball weight, the actual on the A-frame, if you've got yeah, say 400 odd kilos there, when you drop that onto the tow ball of your vehicle, that weight gets added to the GVM of your tow vehicle. So if you've got your vehicle at the maximum GVM or close to the maximum GVM, then you drop your caravan on, it's got a ball weight of 200 or 300 kilos, whatever it is, that gets added to the gross vehicle mass and you are now illegal. Now that's not a problem until a couple of things. You get pulled over at a weigh station and you're told to unload. I mean, that wouldn't be much fun if you're 100 k's north of Carnarvon, would it?
Oh, that'd
The other
suck.
thing, hey?
That'd suck.
That'd suck. I reckon the missus would be getting ripping into you right away, Derek.
Oh,
you'll be copping it. But the other thing is, some of the combinations that are out there, and fantastic people, they've worked hard all their life, they've got a beautiful $80,000, $100,000, whether it's a Patrol or a Cruiser or a Mazda, whatever it is, beautiful big caravan, another $80,000 or $100,000. If you are so unfortunate to be involved in an accident, maybe through no fault of your own, you reckon the insurance company might just come down very closely to see if you're overweight? If you are caught overweight, I'd suggest that you're not going to get paid out. There's a recent case, and it's a very sad case, which is, you know, it's on all the social media and the Caravanning Association of Australia, where a very unfortunate victim over east had a car accident with his caravan. It was a fatality with his dear wife and also another member of his family. That has now been, I almost call it a test case. So, and unfortunately, there's a string of charges like this from knowingly driving an overweight vehicle, unroadworthy, and I bet you the insurance company wouldn't have paid out on that one.
No.
So, yeah, be very careful of your weights, that's all I can say. We've been doing this in the auto parts industry now. I've been doing it for 45 years come February next year. So I've been doing it a long time. Certainly don't know everything, but I think we know a fair bit.
So how much roughly would people be looking at for the GMV upgrade?
To get a GVM upgrade, look, here we are, it's yeah, Sunday afternoon out the farm, Derek, but look, approximately around that $3,500 mark.
Yep.
You know, but what that actually entails is new springs front and rear, new shock absorbers front and rear, new shackle plates, hangers if required.
Yep.
You know? It also includes, we have to have the vehicle then inspected by a government inspection centre. But I'm actually licensed as a secondary vehicle manufacturer,
yep.
Which so our kits are federally approved through PETAs. We also have other kits. What's an example? 100 series Land Cruiser. There's not a federally approved kit, but we've gone to the expense at Dapco to have these kits approved. And off the top of my head, we can now get those up to, I think it's 3,580 kilos.
Yep.
We actually get quite a few cars from the metro area come down for us to do those upgrades.
Yep.
So that's good. But yeah, we get vehicles from Esperance, you know, Augusta, Kojonup, Katanning, Lake Grace last week. So we get cars from all around the southwest and Great Southern. Like I say, a few out of Perth as well for us to do the upgrades.
Yep. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. A lot.
That gives you
Thank
plenty
you
of
very
footage.
much for your time.
Okay, mate, it's a pleasure, mate. And if anyone's got any questions, yeah, please pick up the phone. You know, they can get me at the Bunbury store. You know, I'm there pretty well 6 days a week and until I head off on another four-wheel drive journey.
Absolutely.
Good on you, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and you're able to take something valuable away from it. If you haven't already, punch that like and subscribe button, or check out some of our other videos on the left hand side of the screen, or even come see us on Facebook. And we will see you next time on Get Wicked 4x4 Adventures.